We're wrapping up the Lies We All Believe series with a really complicated lie, because we are all made for community. At Cornerstone, we actually say that we live in community with others. And so we really value what people think, and we want to listen to others, and we want to come alongside others. But you can also start living for others in a really unhealthy way that goes way too far. So Becky, thank you so much for really highlighting that. And I'm kind of a little confused because you come across as a very self-assured, very confident person.
I thought you were going to say selfish. Self-assured.
I almost said that. But you're self-assured, you're confident. Have you ever believed this lie that you are what other people think of you?
Never. Nope. Next question.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Next.
No, I mean, yeah, I think the reason I wanted to teach this particular topic is because it's something that I've personally been walking through a lot. And I said a little bit in the message, like when it comes to my job and what the last few years have been, right? Like that's come into play where I realized, oh, I didn't realize that stings more than I thought it would. Maybe I'm putting more worth into that. But it's still something I'm learning every day. And there's times when I'm like, I feel grounded and settled and I'm good, and then there's times like this last week as I was preparing, like it was part of it was like
fresh.
I shouldn't be surprised, right?
Okay.
Like as I was preparing for this message, you aren't what other people think of you, right? I had writer's block because I'm so I tend, especially when I'm crafting sermons, to think what's the best way to say it? And it's not. It's with good intentions, right? I want it to be impactful. I want people to be able to walk away, but I sometimes obsess over it too much, where it's like, I miss the whole point of even preparing the sermon in the first place. And
so you're preparing a sermon about how not to care one bit
about
other people.
too much about
what
people are
what are people going to think about it?
Right?
Yeah.
And so even now, right, like as I was preparing, I could sense God's at work digging up this thing that I sometimes convince myself, I've figured it out, I've overcome that, and it's like, actually, let's dig in a little more and see what's really at play there.
As you're talking about people that are approval addicted, I'm imagining that there's several of us that go, oh yeah, I think that's me. Do you have any practical ways to combat these tendencies in other, seeking other people's approval, maybe, social media or what would you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much, because it's such a rampant thing. I almost decided to take out that list from the sermon of like, if you do these things, you might, because all of us do those things, right? Maybe to different degrees or what, but seriously, so many of them, we all do that. And so on one hand, it was kind of pointless to be like, are you an approval addict? Because I think we honestly would say, we all have that tendency. And so there's been so much data from like studies and research and psychologists in the last several years that talk about approval addiction. And it, like, without a doubt, social media is tied to the rise in approval addiction. And so if you're like, hey, this is a thing for me, and you're someone who's on social media regularly, that might actually be a great starting place. It's like, take a month off and see how that shifts your spirit, your demeanor throughout the day, your starting place, emotionally, right, when it comes to interacting with other people. And so, that could be like a great practical first step. But the other thing that I think so important when it comes to this lie of I am what others think of me, or really any of the lies, is to be able to develop a habit of identifying the lie and changing the lie. And a lot of times when we have things that, like toxic thoughts or lies that we believe, our response can't just be, well, don't think about that anymore, right? Well, don't think about the lie.
It makes it worse.
Because it just makes you think about the lie even more, right? If I say, don't think about the pink elephant.
Pink elephant is all I think about.
Right? So, and again, there's so much like, study about how our brain works and neuroplasticity and all of this that proves that, like, when it comes to addiction or these lies, it's not just about not doing what you don't want to do or not believing the lie you don't want to believe. You have to actually shift and replace that lie with a different thought, right? Replace that lie with the truth. Or as a pastor friend of mine says, you have to change the channel. And so there's actually this practice that I've started that has been helpful for me to kind of do that, to replace the lie with the truth. And I got it from a pastor called John Mark Comer, who I listen to a lot. And he has this book called Live No Lies. And at the end of the book, he kind of walks through this practice. But basically, I take a piece of paper or a journal and I put 3 boxes. And in the first box, I'm identifying what is this thought or feeling or sensation that I'm experiencing. So for example,
yes,
my body immediately feels anxious when I receive critical emails. Okay? Like I get it, I read the email,
Yep.
Oh, and then like there's tightness in my chest, the anxiety, my pulse quickens, like my body's physically reacting to that. Okay, so that's the thought or feeling or sensation I have. Second box is what's the lie beneath that thought, that feeling, that sensation that reveals, right, this attachment or this lie that's there. And so then I would put, okay, the lie is I believe that when someone in the church has negative input, it means I'm a bad leader or I did something wrong, right? That's the lie I'm believing. And then the third box is, okay, what's the truth, right? What's the truth I'm replacing that lie with? And so I might write down something like Proverbs 29:25, fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe, right? Or I'll write down something I feel like the Holy Spirit's speaking to me, a truth about where my identity really lies and not in believing that lie. And so I'm actually going through this process, right? This tangible process of replacing that lie with the truth. And that can happen for any of these lies,
yes.
right? Not just what other people think of us. It can happen when, like if we think, oh man, I'm not gonna make my mortgage payment this month or whatever. What's the lie behind that feeling? Right? Like, and we can
that keeps
use
us,
this
takes
step,
us away from trusting
these
God.
3 steps of what's the thought or feeling or sensation, what's the lie behind that, and then what's the truth. And that's been a helpful practice for me to actually shift how I'm thinking or what I'm doing, and change that channel
I
to
love
what's
that.
true.
We're going to put that in the comments or in the notes because that's super, super helpful. And I loved how you ended the message with, like, if we were to dispel these lies as a community, if we all decided that we are not going to go down the lies of that the enemy throws at us, we could be a community that changes everything around us. This kind of wraps up the series, The Lies We All Believe. Go back and listen to any messages in the series that you may have missed so that you can be transformed from the inside out of people whose identity is found in not in what we do or what we have or what others think of us, but that our identity is found in the fact that we are the beloved of God.